Making a blazer that looks and fits like this, there are some things you need to know, and I'll be sharing that during the course of this tutorial, including how to do an inseam finish like a professional. The pattern I'll be sharing in this blazer tutorial will work for literally any and everyone wherever you are in the world. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Ensure you share this tutorial to every sewist you know. Like this video, it helps me create more tutorials like this. Also ask your questions in the comment section, and when you try this, make sure you come back to the comments to tell us how good you did. Let's get started. This is the fabric I'll be using during the course of this tutorial, and it's called a tweed. What I have here is 2 yards. I'll be listing all the materials I used during the course of this tutorial on the screen. You can see that this came with an interfacing, but some of them do not come with an interfacing. Also here I have 2 yards of suit lining. This is what it looks like, and you can see the shoulder pad I'll also be using. The shoulder pad is totally optional. Now let's proceed to draft out the pattern. I've already gone ahead to draw my lines here, but for the sake of the beginners, I'm just going to quickly explain what each of these lines represent. First, I have my starting line here, which is also going to serve as my shoulder line, and from this point I came in by 1.5 inch. This is going to be for the button space, and I ruled a straight line across. For the neckline, from this point I marked 3 inches for my neck width and came down by 3 inches for the neck depth, connected it with a curve to get our neckline. On this shoulder line here, you are going to mark half of your shoulder measurement. Mine is 7.5 inches, but because this is a blazer, make sure you add extra 1 inch to that. So I mark mine at 8.5 inch. From that point, you go down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope and connect this back into the neck width. For the chest line, I'll be leaving a formula on the screen on how to calculate yours. Make sure you're marking this from the shoulder slope downward. Then you take the measurement of what you have from your shoulder line to that point, mark across and connect with a straight line. Then this is the shoulder to the bust line measurement. Mine is 11 inches. Shoulder to waistline, mine is 17.5 inch. And then from the waistline, you're going to mark down your waist to your hip line measurement. And that is about all the lines I have here. Coming to the chest line, also mark half of your shoulder measurement. Don't forget to add that extra 1 inch. Connect these 2 points together with a straight line. Divide what you have from your shoulder slope to your chest line by 2. Mark the midpoint, coming from that point by half of an inch. On the chest line also, you mark quarter of your bust measurement, and when I say quarter of a measurement, I mean that measurement divided by 4. Because this is a blazer and we don't need it to be exactly tight, we are going to be adding an extra ease of 0.3 to 0.5 inch. This will help the blazer to sit perfectly on the body, so I'll be using 0.3 inch. On the waistline, mark quarter of your waist measurement. I'll not be marking anything on the bust line because we already mark our bust measurement on the chest line. Make sure you add your ease. On the hip line, mark quarter of your hip measurement. Also add your ease. Now connect all these points together just like so. For the armhole curve, normally you would connect these points together to get our armhole curve, but because this is a blazer, make sure you come down from this point by 0.5 inch. Then using your curve, connect all these points together to get your armhole curve. Looking at this blazer, you would notice that it has an extended hip. To get that extended hip, coming to the hip line here, go out by 3 inches, then connect this back into the waistline. This right here is the new line we are working with, so I'm just going to cancel this one. Coming to the neckline, first determine where you want your buttons to start. Mine, I'm going to go up from the bust line by 1 inch. This totally depends on what you're comfortable wearing, okay? I'm just going to measure what I have from the shoulder line to that point to be sure it's okay. So I have 10 inches here, which is okay by me. I'm going to mark it also on this button space here and connect with a straight line. Using my curve, I'm just going to create a slight curvy V neckline. Also looking at this blazer, you would notice that the buttonhole stops a few inches below the waistline and then connects back to the length. So what I'm going to do is at this waistline here, I'm going to come down by 4.5 inch, connect it into the button space. Now before I connect it back to the length, I want this to be longer, okay, to give that pointy look. So from this hip line, I'm going to come down by 2.5 inch, And at the side here, I'm going to go up by 3 inches. Using your curve, connect these 2 points together like so. And from this point here, using a slight curve, connect it back to the length like this. For the dart, you're going to mark half of your nipple to nipple measurement on the bust line and also on the hip line. Connect this together with a straight line. For the dart intake, you're going to go out on both sides of this dart on the waistline by 0.5 inch. This is going to work for every body size. Connect this back into the bust point like this, and then back into the length. Now, I forgot to mention, make sure you replace your dart intake at the side on the waistline and connect it back. I forgot to do that here, but I did that much later. Divide what you have here on this shoulder line by 2, mark the midpoint, connect it back into the bust point like this. Now we'll be taking a bust dart because the shoulder to waist in front is longer than that of the back. To make it equal, we are going to be taking a bust dart. This is usually 1 inch or 1.5 inch. 1 inch will work for everyone. You can do 1.5 inch if you have a bigger bust size, okay? From this bust line, I'll come down by 1.5 inch and connect it back into the bust point. But before I proceed to cut this out, I would like to contour the neckline. This is going to help to prevent any form of gaping. Connect from the bust point to any point on your neckline. Mark out 0.2 inch on both sides and connect it back to the bust point. So we'll be closing this part to contour the neckline. I'll show you guys how to close it up while I'm cutting this. I'm just pretty much just it for the front pattern. I'm just going to go ahead and label this, then proceed to cut this out. Make sure you watch how I'm doing this to know exactly how to go about yours. If you've gotten to this point of the tutorial and it has been helpful, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Make sure you share this with family and friends who you think would love a tutorial like this. Turn on your post notifications, and if you haven't joined our community, please try and join the community because on there we do style analysis and we also share ideas, so you don't want to miss out on that. So this is just me closing my bust dart, and what I did was to cut through the bust line here, close it up like this and use my tape to hold it down. After doing that, you might notice that this line here is no longer aligning. All you need to do is to use your rule and blend it out like so. After cutting this out, you'll notice this pointiness around this bust point here, and we can't sew this like this because it will end up being pointy around the bust area. So what you need to do is to use your curve and blend this out beautifully like I'm doing here, then cut off this excess here. For this neck dart here, to close it, all you need to do is to cut through one of the darts and close it up like this. Tape it down. You'll notice that this is no longer aligning properly, so what you need to do is just to take your curve and blend it back into the neck width and cut off the excess. And that is it for the front, guys. Let's proceed to draft out the back pattern. For the back pattern, I've already gone ahead to draw out my lines just exactly as we did for the front. The only difference here is that the neck depth is 1.5 inch for the back, and then the shoulder to the waistline at the back is shorter. Remember, I used 17.5 inches for my front waistline and we took out a bust dart of 1.5 inch. Now I'm going to say the 17.5 inch minus 1.5 inch. I have 16 inches left. Divide what you have here from the shoulder slope to the chest line by 2. Mark the midpoint. On the chest line here, you are going to mark quarter of your bust measurement, add your ease. On the waistline, quarter of your waist measurements, add your ease. And on the hip line, you are going to mark quarter of your hip measurements and add your ease. Connect all these points together. Just like we did for the front, you're going to be extending your hip by 3 inches, then connect this back into the waistline. You'll also be going up from the side by 3 inches and you blend this back into the center back using your curve. So we'll no longer be needing this line here. For the armhole curve, we are going to come down from the chest line by 0.5 inch. Then using your curve, connect it together like this to get your armhole curve. For the dart, mark half of your nipple to nipple measurement on the chest line and also mark it there on the hip line. Connect this together with a straight line. Go out on both sides of your waistline by 0.5 inch. Connect this back into the chest line and back into the hip line. Now divide what you have on the shoulder slope by 2. Mark the midpoint and you'll be connecting this back into the chest line like this. Make sure you replace your dart. So what I have here on my waistline is 1 inch. I'm going to mark it on the side here, connect it back to the chest line and back to the hip line. We'll no longer be needing this line here. That is it for the back pattern, but before we proceed to cut this out, there's something I like to do while making my blazers that helps to give it a very nice fit. At this waistline here on the center back, you are going to be going in by 0.3 to 0.5 inch. Connect this back into your neck depth and back into the length. And that's pretty much just it for the back. I'm going to proceed to cut this out. Make sure you watch to see how I'm doing this to know exactly how to go about yours. After cutting this out, you also notice that around this point here, around the chest line, it's looking pointy and we don't want that. Because this is the back, you'll be using the less curvy part of your curve to blend this out this way and cut it out. Now we'll be using our pattern paper to cut out our fabric. I've already gone ahead to do that here. 4 for each, 2 main fabric and 2 lining. So for the center front, I added 0.5 inch all the way around, and to this down part here, I added 1 inch because I wanted it to be more pointy. To the side front, I added 0.5 inch all around this part, and to the side, I added 1.5 inch stitching allowance. Because of the structure of this blazer, I added a crinoline mesh from the waistline downward. This is what it looks like. This is the soft one. I didn't use the hard crinoline mesh, okay? So after ironing it, I made sure that I trim off 1/2 inch away from the edges here. Then I used hairstay to cover it up. I did the same thing to the side also. I ironed hairstay to my lining. Also make sure that it is 1 inch shorter than the main fabric. So I'll be taking out my lining and I'll just be using one of the main fabric to demonstrate what we'll be doing. All you need to do is to place this right sides facing each other like this. Pin it down. You'll be stitching this down using 0.5 inch stitching allowance. And this is what you have. You'll be doing this for each and every piece of the front. For the back also, I've gone ahead to cut it out. I added 0.5 inch all around the center front here. And just like I did for the front, I ironed my crinoline mesh, trim of 0.5 inch away from the edge, and then used hairstay to cover it up. For the side also, I added 0.5 inch all around the side, and then I added 1.5 inch to the side. So I'm just going to take out the lining and I'm going to use the main fabric to show you what you'll be doing to the other pieces. You place them right sides facing each other like this. Go ahead and pin it down. You're going to stitch this down using 0.5 inch stitching allowance, and you're going to be doing this to the other sides. So after doing this, you can see what I have for the back. You will notice that around this side here, it has this opening. So when I join this together, it's going to give the waist a very nice fit. Now place this right sides facing each other, pin it down, and you're going to stitch this down using 0.5 inch stitching allowance. After joining the sides, you can see what I have here. Don't forget to always give your seams a good press, just like I have here. It's going to help your outfit to come out really nice. The next thing I'm going to do here is to join the front and the back together, and you are going to pin down the shoulder. You will stitch this down using 0.5 inch stitching allowance. We'll also be stitching it down at the side. Okay, so make sure you place the waist together first. Pin it down, then pin down the other side. Whatever excess you have up or down, you can trim off the excess, but make sure that the waist are together. Okay, now you're going to stitch this down using the stitching allowance you gave on both sides. So after doing that, you can see what I have here. I've already given this a good press. Make sure that you notch this at the waistline. This is going to help your waist area to lay flat in front. So you can see that I have exactly the same thing for the lining. Now we are going to join the lining and the main fabric together. And to do this, I'll be doing the center back on both the main fabric and the lining together, right sides facing each other like this. You're going to pin it down around the neckline first. So you stitch it down around the neckline using 0.5-inch stitching allowance, and after you're done with that, you're going to pin it around the bottom part and stitch it down using 0.5-inch stitching allowance. So don't forget, you first of all stitch the neckline and then you stitch the bottom part. After doing that, we are going to close up the sides, which is the button space. So we will pin this down from this part all the way to the bottom. Now, because the lining is shorter than the main fabric, you'll notice that the main fabric is longer here. All you need to do is to fold it in like this and pin it down. You're going to stitch this down using 0.5-inch stitching allowance and do this on both sides. So after doing that, what you need to do here is just to trim off whatever excess you have, so that when you turn this over to the front and iron it, it's going to lay flat. So make sure you trim off any excess, and make sure you make a notch around your neckline area and make notches around every area you need to, just like I'm doing here. So just watch how I'm doing this. After doing that, we are just going to turn this over to the right side. This is me turning this over to the right side like this, and this is what I have. Now you need to take your time and give this a really good press, because at this point your ironing scale is going to determine how well this blazer is going to come out. After taking my time to give this a good press, you can see how beautiful this came out. This is exactly what you should have. Now the next thing we are going to do here is to insert our sleeves. And to insert the sleeves, I've already gone ahead to cut out my sleeves here. For those that don't know how to cut out a basic sleeve, I already have a tutorial on my channel how to go about this. I'm going to leave a link in the description box so you can do yours. I have 2 main fabric and 2 for the lining. So let's work on the sleeves. First, you need to make sure that your sleeve is about 1 inch shorter than the main fabric, okay, just like mine is here. Then you're going to open this up like this, place them right sides facing each other, and pin down this bottom part here. You'll be stitching down this bottom part using 0.5-inch stitching allowance. So let's just assume I've done that. Then you open this up like this, and you're going to fold this right sides facing each other this way. This is exactly how you are going to do it, okay, for an inseam sleeve. Then the next thing you're going to do here is you're going to take the measurement of what you have around your armhole on your blazer. You're going to put half of the measurement here, and whatever excess you have here, you're going to stitch it down. Okay, I use 1 inch seam allowance, so I'll stitch down using 1 inch all the way to this point here. Now when you get to the lining, okay, on the side here, you're going to reduce your stitching allowance because the lining shouldn't be exactly as fitted as the main fabric. When you get back to this top here, you're going to still use the 1 inch seam allowance. I hope this is clear. After stitching this down, you can see what I have here. I've already gone ahead to insert one of the sleeves, and you can see how beautiful that looks. You can see the inseam finish from the inside. Like I explained earlier, measure what you have around your armhole on the blazer, mark half of that on your curve here, and from here you are going to stitch it down. Then using the stitching allowance you use throughout the sleeve into this point on the lining, then you reduce the stitching allowance. When you get back up to this point, you use the same stitching allowance you use on the main fabric, and that's pretty much just it. Turn this out to the right side just like I'm doing here. And we'll be inserting this sleeve on this other side. To do that, you're going to open this up like this. I use the side of the armhole which is open to turn out the other sleeve. Now for us to sew this second sleeve, we have to create an opening somewhere. So just create an opening on your lining. You don't need much opening, just enough for you to turn out the sleeve. Now to insert the sleeves, you are going to place the main fabrics together. So this is me just opening the side seam like this and placing them together. Pin it down. Then you're going to pin it around. You'll notice you will not be able to pin this down all the way around. So what you need to do is to open this up like this, and you are going to take it out from the inside. So you can see here that it's easier for you to just pin it around. So I'm just going to do that quickly. You can see that the armhole around the blazer and the one on my sleeve fits well. Now you stitch this down using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. Okay, I'm just going to show you how to do the one for the lining before I go to my machine to stitch this down. So all you need to do is to pull the lining from the inside like this. Just watch what I'm doing and you'll be able to know exactly how to go about yours. You're going to place them right sides facing each other. I'll fold it in like this and place it right side to my lining. Make sure you hold it firmly, and from this opening here you're just going to pull it out like this. I'll just use the pin to hold it in place. And then pull it out completely so I can pin it around the armhole. After doing this, you stitch this down using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. I'll just quickly go to my machine and do that. And after doing that, this is what you should have. You can see how easy and how beautiful this came out. Now for the opening that we have here, all you need to do is to fold it in together. You can either use a hemming gum, put it in between and iron it to stay in place, or you hold it together and use a top stitch to stitch it down at the edge. That's why you shouldn't make a very big opening so it's not too visible. And that is it. Now it's just to insert the buttons. I've gone ahead to do that. I had to quickly go to the market to do my buttonholes because I do not have a buttonhole machine at home currently. For a female blazer, the buttonholes should always be on the right hand side, while the button itself should be on the left hand side, just like mine is here. You guys, I actually made a cover button for this, but when I went to do the buttons, I saw these beautiful purple buttons and I just couldn't resist. What do you guys think? Do you guys think I made the right choice using these purple buttons? So that is it for this tutorial. Basically, the main blazer we're creating has pearls, so you can go ahead and add pearls to yours if you want. And that is it for this tutorial. I hope this tutorial was really helpful. I'll be seeing you guys in my next tutorial. Stay tuned.